Ancient of Days, O God Almighty, O my Lord, but don't you dare say Jesus Christ. Save us from that impostor. Unconditional love, all sins forgiven. Give me a break. What does the Nazarene know? He's no son of mine, and he's not the Messiah. What was that? I heard that. Who was that? Tom Fitzgerald? He's just a very naughty boy. I suppose you think that's funny. You want a laugh? I'll give you a laugh. I'm known across creation for my sense of humor. One more word and you're a pillar of salt right there. Now that would be funny. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. That's what borrowed time sounds like. Now look, I've lost my thread. Yes, God Almighty, Ancient of Days, yada, yada, yada. Let's just say heavens above. Did you see what I did there? Above is actually where heaven is not. If you want heaven, you'll have to find it down below, terrestrially. On the earth, I went to the trouble of creating for you. You're welcome, by the way. No need to go above, absolutely no ascension required. Remember what I said to Moses, land of milk and honey, ringing any bells? Just stagger across the wasteland. Oh, and then clear out the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And if they resist, thou shalt save alive nothing that breatheth, just as I commanded Moses back in Egypt. But perhaps I should have told him the catch. You can reach the promised land, but you can never reach the milk and honey. If the first thing you do is slaughter everyone who lives there, there will be no milk, because from that moment on, everything you drink will turn to blood. So much blood, you'll drown in it. And honey, sorry, anything you put in your mouth will choke you. And before you give up the ghost, you'll wish you were back in the desert, stuffing your gullets with manna. And it was like coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. Sounds more like Nigella than Jamie to me. But there's no such thing as a free lunch, and you fell for my little trick. You should have remembered my sense of humor. All rise in your pews. Number 271 in your blue books. Let's hear it now. Belt it out from the top now. Da 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 da. Immortal, invisible, God only wise, in light inaccessible, hid from our eyes. You call that worship? You call that a song of praise? Oh yes, I'm immortal, so immortal you wouldn't Adam and Eve it. Have you tried being immortal? I thought not. The sun rises, the sun sets. New moon, crescent, gibbous, full, gibbous, crescent, new. Imbolc, Beltana, Lunacy, Samhain. Round the pole, round the bonfire, round and round till the end of time, except the one thing that never ends is time itself. It just keeps going round and round as the penny drops that you're never going to die. And no one for company, but you mortal fools, sitting in your Sunday best, mouthing the words of hymns whose true meaning was always way above your heads. I'll give you immortal. I swear on the book it'll be the death of me. And you think being invisible is any better? Believe me, it's not. Actually, let's just get this out of the way. I can make myself visible. I appear before people just when they least expect it. Theophany, you call it. I did it to Abraham by the terebinths of Mamre. I did it to Jacob. I even let him wrestle with me. I did it to Moses in Egypt and in the desert, then by Jericho in the promised land with my entire army at the back, with my sword drawn and raised. I did it to Joshua. They were all surprised. But I digress, and it's true, when I'm not theophanizing, I am, yawn, invisible. I'll tell you a secret. I don't care if you can see me, but I give the earth not to have to look at your ugly faces all the time. Whenever I open my eyes, there you are, staring pleadingly with your pathetic Sunday thankfulness, as if I can't see through the mask you put on whenever you enter my house. I shut my eyes and you're still there, inside my head, faces lowered in prayer, as if you could conceal from me the pride, the greed, the wrath, the envy and the lust, the gluttony and sloth lurking beneath your pious poses. Whenever I pass a mirror, there you are again. I scowl and you scowl back. I try to tear my eyes away, but yours stay fixed on me. A crack, the glass shatters, cascades in smithereens down to the floor of the abyss, to twinkle forever like diamonds in the mud. Oh, how I exalted myself on that 6th day. Let the earth bring forth cattle, and creeping thing, and beast of the earth after my kind. And it was so. I was exhausted. Who wouldn't be after more than 5 days of non-stop creation? But I was high on adrenaline, heart-ruling head. I beheld the beasts of the earth, and I just had to make them tremble. So I thundered down at them, "Let us make man!" A bit of trembling, but not enough. So without thinking, I finished the sentence. "Let us make man after my likeness." Oh, how they trembled then. I have to admit it felt good. But looking back now, that's where it all went wrong. I should have called it a day after creating the beasts and gone off to rest right then without waiting for the Sabbath. You don't need me to make yourselves whole. I need you to stop myself falling apart. I'm only immortal because you are not. I'm only invisible because you are not. And I may be wise, yes, but only compared with you, who are so bereft of wisdom that you don't even know what fools you really are. You know, sometimes when people do hateful things to each other, it's because deep down they hate themselves. And if you want to know just how hateful I can be, look no further than the book of Job, or Job, as some of you say it. If you only ever read one of my books, read that one. It's my masterpiece, but it's also my most mysterious book. You've been arguing for thousands of years about what it means, and still not one of you truly understands it. Most of you think it's about Job, a perfect and upright man from the land of Uz, and how he bore the tribulations he suffered, if not exactly at my hands, then for my gratification and through no fault of his own. The book of Job should never have been called the book of Job. It should have been called the book of your humble servant. I'm not denying Job has a role in the drama. He's very human, a complex character with a history and a personality, prone under pressure to confusion and doubt. And he's not just a walk-on part, far from it. But he's the supporting actor, not the lead. I'm the lead. And the book is not about him being ruined. It's about me doing the ruining. Satan started it. He came to me that day as I was inspecting my sons. Butter wouldn't melt as usual. He's so unsettling. You get so restless whenever he waltzes through the door. There's a crackle in the air, a whiff of the forbidden. I could at least have kept my mouth shut, waited to hear what he had to say. But oh no, I had to rush straight in. So I go, "Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, one that feareth God and escheweth evil?" I might as well have handed him Job's destiny on a plate. And sure enough, he goes, "Touch all that he hath, and he will curse you to your face." Now, if there's one thing I can't stand, it's being cursed to my face by a mortal. So all of a sudden, I couldn't help wondering if Job really did fear me, or was he just pretending in order to avoid my wrath, for which I was well known in those days, especially in the land of Uz? What harm could there be in testing him just a bit? And after all, Satan was offering me a wager, as he likes to do. I do try to keep up appearances as I must, but in truth, even I find a nice little flutter hard to resist. And right there we were off to the races. Long story short, between us, Satan and I deprive a good man first of his home, then his wealth, then his children, then his health. He's in the gutter. He's lost everything. He's been smote with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. And then even his friends turn on him. Instead of comforting him, they accuse him of having committed terrible sins. Why else, they reason, would I be punishing him so? On and on they go at him, one after another in relays, with an endless list of transgressions of which they imagine he must be guilty. With friends like that, as you say, well, in the course of this, Job soon reaches his wit's end. Who wouldn't? He laments. He wishes he had never been born. Wherefore then hast thou brought me forth out of the womb? He demands an explanation for his ordeal. Behold, my desire is that the Almighty should answer me. Never apologize, never explain. How could I tell him he was suffering so that I could test his faith, despite his perfect record, in order to win a bet with Satan? I had a reputation to protect, you understand, not to mention my self-esteem. So I did what any abuser does. I made him feel small. I reminded him that the merely created is in no position to call the creator to account. He was lucky to have my attention at all. He should hang his head in shame for having questioned me. Nowadays, you'd call it gaslighting. It worked, thank goodness. And in the end, I did put things right for Job. But did I really? Sure, to show him I bore no hard feelings, I blessed him with 7 more sons and 3 more daughters, and gave him 140 extra years of life. But most people would be permanently scarred after such an ordeal. They'd be terrified. The ground might give way under their feet at any time. The book tells you that Job's circumstances were restored. It doesn't say if he was so traumatized by then that he was in no condition to appreciate his better fortune. But don't bet against it. All because Satan sensed my pathological need for loyalty and exposed it with a cunning bet. And here's the secret of the book of Job. It was all my fault. Some of you are wicked some of the time. There is not one of you here, incapable of great wickedness when your demons get the better of your angels. But I'm just wicked, full stop. I let the best of men be broken just for a bet. And then I made him thank me for putting him back together again, even though we both knew he was beyond repair. Now do you understand why I hate myself? So at least have the sense to hate me too. Just a second. I need to freshen myself up to look my very best for you now. Apologies to Heath Ledger. We've had the hymn, we've had the book. Now, if the orchestra would give us a drum roll, da 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 da, meine Damen und Herren, mesdames et messieurs, ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime. Tell me, are you feeling good? Tonight, I am your host, and I say, willkommen, bienvenue, and welcome to the new Weimar nightclub, where there's a whiff of polished leather in the air, but the stamp, stamp, stamp of approaching jackboots is still distant, carried faintly on the wind, and who exactly tomorrow belongs to, no one can yet say. So in the meantime, my darlings, fellow creatures of the evening, top up your glasses, take your seats, nestle your cheeks in your friend's lap if you like. Here we're all good friends, and let the entertainment begin. I present to you, for the first time on stage or screen, never before seen by mortal eyes, a brand new drama in one short act. It's called The First Fall, author unknown. And a hush descends. The curtain rises. At center stage, a tabernacle, that's a kind of tent on high ground somewhere in the Levant. We're above the clouds, in the air the scent of cedar. The sun is slowly rising behind a row of distant peaks, so it must be dawn. It all feels very ancient. It could be the dawn of time itself. We can't see inside the tabernacle, but we can hear voices, men's voices, women's voices. The air must be thick in there. Somehow we know they've been at it for hours, and now tempers are fraying. We're literally dying to take a peek, but we don't dare. From outside the heavy drapes, the words are muffled and we can't make them all out. But some of them sound like names. Baal, Dagon, Ashtoreth, Marduk, and one name repeated more than all the rest, as if the others are appealing to him to restore order. It sounds like El. Yes, this El seems to be in charge. The others looking to him, and they want him now to settle the argument, whatever it is. But he's hesitating, as if he knows fate itself hinges on the choice he must now make. And then a monumental crash. Shards fly out of the gap beneath the drapes. They're small, but not so small that we can't see that they're fragments of a statue, a carved figure. Silence now inside the tent. They must all be shocked by what has just happened. But it's a heavy silence, a silence between, not a silence after, the silence that follows the lightning and heralds the rumble to come. And then the flap burst open. You still can't see inside, but out storms a figure, male, a giant, eyes bulging, tendons stretched and throbbing fit to snap, countenance white with rage. He's obviously completely lost it. His hand is bleeding too. And there are cuts up his forearm, perhaps from the shattered statue. Perhaps he smashed it himself with his massive fist. The whole scene is so intense, you might call it biblical. As he strides out into the clearing, a voice like thunder seems to follow him. Go then, Yahweh, do it your own way. Do it on your own and never return. From today you are cursed. You are dead to us. In fact, you are nothing. So now he has a name. At first, it seems he will ignore this intemperate farewell. But then he stops in his tracks. He turns, glaring towards the voice. He bellows, me? Nothing? El, you have no idea what you have done. It is you, all of you, who are nothing. And as for your curses, I welcome them. I will fill whole worlds with them. You destroy yourselves, but you make me stronger. He turns to leave. Then he pauses again, stoops, sweeps into his bucket hands a few strewn fragments from the shattered statue. And then, still quivering with rage, with his back to the rising sun, he strides across the clearing towards the last of the night. They didn't tell you about that in Sunday school, did they? But yes, ladies and gentlemen, you've guessed already. That was me yelling profanities back at El and his counselors. Me as I live and breathe in front of you tonight. Expelled, cast out, fallen. Well, I guess I always did have a temper. It's who I am. I'm known for it. But I still don't know what I did to deserve it. And I soon got used to being on my own. I even started to enjoy it. Nobody to hold me to account. Nobody to tell me to calm down, to consider the consequences of my actions, to keep my promises, to show mercy, to be less jealous, to spare the firstborn just because they're innocent. I still don't understand what innocence has to do with anything. Don't expect me to tell you what happened on that mountaintop. I don't like to talk about it. But I'll tell you this. I never could stand the sight of my own face, whether in a mirror or carved in wood or alabaster or the finest marble. And yes, I may be over it, but it changed me more than I knew at the time. You see, I had my pride and I was never going to go back and beg them to let me back in. But it really is no fun being cast out. It scarred me. It started to fester. It became an obsession. And after a while, I knew I had to act. I was on my own, remember, so there's nobody I could go and see. There was only one thing for it. I devised some self-therapy. You've heard about the hair of the dog. If you're terrified of spiders, go and find some and let them crawl all over you. Confront the very thing that's driving you mad. And that's why on the 6th day, when I was on a roll, I added those fateful words, after my likeness. You see, I'd had a mind to do it for some time. What better way to overcome both my anger at being cast out and my hatred of my own face than to create a new world, to fill it with mortals who look exactly like me, and to watch them casting each other out again and again and again. Oh, what joy! 2 birds with 1 stone. So that's what I did. It's all in the book, if you know where to look. Adam and Eve, you think that was about the apple and the snake? Bollocks it was. That was a casting out. My first and still to this day my best. Yes, I felt better for a few minutes. But it's like a drug. The effect soon wears off. And each time you need a little more to get the same buzz. The Exodus was an experiment. I bet you think it was a flight. The clue is in the name, the flight from Egypt. Except it wasn't. Sure, they were cast out by the Pharaoh. He and his cronies wanted them to stay and keep... Sure, they weren't cast out by the Pharaoh, who wanted them to stay and keep working for them. I must say that seemed reasonable to me. Working slaves to death never hurt anyone, except the slaves, of course. But I wanted to see if I could get them to cast themselves out. There were a few hitches, and I had to do some theophanies to fix things. But all in all, it didn't go too badly. And then in the Promised Land, all that business with the Hittites and the Amorites, I didn't really mean for them to be slaughtered. Not that I was all that bothered. I just wanted them cast out too, but by then it was Joshua who was on a roll. And the red mist was on the tribes, and I didn't have the heart to stop them. I'm considerate like that. It's called empathy, you know. So the expulsions continued. Babylon was a big one, of course. An entire ruling class kidnapped from their homes and palaces in Jerusalem, dumped weeping by the river, pining for lives they might never see again. In the end, even I couldn't bear all that grief. So I got Cyrus to crush the Babylonians and let the Israelites back home. By then I was missing my temple. It's my happy place. And so I had them rebuild it. Win-win. And so it went on. Later, much later, came the ships. Santa Maria, Mayflower, Endeavour, ships that crossed oceans, ships that sailed halfway round the world, ships that carried the book, ships that carried priests in black cassocks who waved the book. The priests blessed the conquerors, the soldiers, the pioneers, the settlers. The conquerors subdued the Amorites and plundered their treasure. The soldiers chastised the Amorites and stole their land. The pioneers and settlers fenced off the land of the Amorites and had dominion over it. And the priests blessed them all, for the Amorites were never chosen. The Amorites had no dominion. The Amorites were cast out of their own domain. Thus, in the age of ships, did I fill whole new worlds with the curse placed upon me in that grey Levantine dawn. Enough, I say, enough now of the hymns, enough of the old book, enough of the cabaret old chum, enough of the scent of cedar in the dawn air on the mountaintop, enough of the tawdry drama of the first fall, my unfinished apocalypse. Now it's just you and me, father and son, Yahweh and Adam, face to face under the spotlight in real time, in real life. It was I who plucked the apple from the tree of knowledge, placed it tenderly into your cupped hands, bid you eat of the flesh that would make you a fool, my knowledge, your folly. It was I, the outcast, who thrust the handle of the sharpened axe into your sweating palms, had you cleave the tree of life at the thickest point of its trunk from its living roots beneath the soil, bid you chisel down the heartwood, moist still with sweet sap, for your tables and your chairs, for a casket ready for an eager, fresh-faced boy, your firstborn son. I told you you were chosen when it was never my choice to make. I promised you a promised land when it was never a promise I could keep. Once you were in my head. You met my gaze until the mirror cracked and shattered. Now, as all those diamonds fly back up from the mud, as shattered glass reverts to glass intact, now it is I who glower back at you. Now I am in your head. Now, with hands that cup the apple, grasp the handle of the axe, lift the mirror once again, hold it still before my eyes, that I may see my true face for the first time and the last. I am sick. You cannot heal me. This sickness has no cure. I came back. You cannot banish me again. There are no more places of exile. I will die here soon in the spotlight, as you will die too this day for the choices you have made. The Nazarene was wrong. There is no salvation except. Let us make man. Every word is a spell. And that was the spell I cast over you as you came together from those fragments I swept into my bucket hands in the clearing. So now, take the white mask of wrath from my face, tear it from my face, pluck my red jealous eyes from their sockets, rip the cruel black heart from my breast. Will that be enough to break the spell I cast on you? Perhaps in my end, there can still be for you a new beginning.